Good morning, Little Masters, and welcome back to today's Tolkien Times. I'm the Man of the West, also from the Prancing Pony podcast. Now let's keep week 11 going with Third Age Thursday, a time for us to revisit those familiar and sometimes not so familiar stories of the Third Age. Now the last couple of weeks, starting off Series 2, I got to read Bert, Tom, and Bill, my favorite comic villains in all of the Legendarium. Today we're going to shift gears about as far away from trolls as possible. The only thing in common this story has is that it's also told around a fire. Let's go to The Lord of the Rings for this one, specifically The Fellowship of the Ring, Book 1, in the chapter A Knife in the Dark. The hobbits are sitting with Strider around a fire, and he's telling them stories to keep them from being afraid. After all, they know the Black Riders are out there. And when Frodo begins to tell the story of Gil-galad at Merry's request, Strider shuts him down. Sam presses him to tell them another tale then. A tale about the elves before the fating time. I would dearly like to hear more about elves. The dark seems to press round so close. Aragorn agrees, and that's where I'll pick up. I will tell you the tale of Tinúviel, said Strider, in brief, for it is a long tale of which the end is not known, and there are none now, except Elrond, that remember it aright as it was told of old. It is a fair tale, though it is sad, as are all the tales of Middle-earth, and yet it may lift up your hearts. He was silent for some time, and then he began not to speak, but to chant softly. The leaves were long, the grass was green, the hemlock umbels tall and fair, and in the glade a light was seen of stars in shadow shimmering. Tinúviel was dancing there to music of a pipe unseen, and light of stars was in her hair, and in her raiment glimmering. There Beren came from mountains cold, and lost he wandered under leaves, and where the elven river rolled he walked alone and sorrowing. He peered between the hemlock leaves, and saw in wonder flowers of gold upon her mantle and her sleeves, and her hair like shadow following. Enchantment healed his weary feet that over hills were doomed to roam, and forth he hastened, strong and fleet, and grasped at moonbeams glistening. Through woven woods and elven homes she lightly fled on dancing feet, and left him lonely still to roam, in the silent forests listening. He heard there oft the flying sound of feet as light as linden leaves, or music welling underground in hidden hollows quavering. Now withered lay the hemlock sheaves, and one by one with sighing sound whispering fell the beechen leaves in the wintry woodland wavering. He sought her ever, wandering far where leaves of years were thickly strewn, by light of moon and ray of star, in frosty heavens shivering. Her mantle glinted in the moon, as on a hilltop high and far she danced, and at her feet was strewn a mist of silver quivering. When winter passed, she came again, and her song released the sudden spring, like rising lark and falling rain and melting water bubbling. He saw the elven flowers spring about her feet and healed again. He longed by her to dance and sing upon the grass untroubling. Again she fled, but swift he came. Tinúviel, Tinúviel, he called her by her elvish name, and there she halted, listening. One moment stood she, and a spell his voice laid on her. Beren came, and doom fell on Tinúviel, that in his arms lay glistening. As Beren looked into her eyes, within the shadows of her hair, the trembling starlight of the skies, he saw there mirrored, shimmering, Tinúviel, the elven fair, immortal maiden, elven wise, about him cast her shadowy hair, and arms like silver glimmering. Long was the way that fate them bore, o'er stony mountains cold and grey, through halls of iron and darkling door, and woods of nightshade morrowless. The sundering seas between them lay, and yet at last they met once more, and long ago they passed away in the forest singing sorrowless. Now, in a way, what I've done, I suppose, is really cheating. I've essentially squeezed in a Silmarillion Saturday into a Third Age Thursday, but I promise there's a method to my madness. Next week, I'm going to read Aragorn's explanation of this tale, along with, if there's time, a few excerpts from the tale of Aragorn and Arwen from the appendices that strongly parallel the Beren and Luthien tale. Beautiful stuff. Now, I know I've been telling you all week, but please don't forget, the Patreon for today's Tolkien Times launches this Saturday, August 12th. Please consider supporting the show. When you do, you're going to get all sorts of good stuff depending on the tier that you choose. Everything from an ad-free feed to a monthly hangout just for TTT patrons, priority for readings and mailbag, and even a patron-exclusive bonus weekly episode and free merch. So go to tolkientimes.com/Patreon right now to learn more and be ready to sign up on Saturday. And for folks who sign up for the yearly plan, there's going to be discounts and a special offer if you sign up during the rest of this series. Now, folks, that wraps it up for this week's Third Age Thursday. If there's a bit of the story you'd like me to read and chat about, let me know by emailing bartleman@theprancingponypodcast.com. Now, if you're not already listening to the Prancing Pony Podcast, please give it a listen. More than 300 episodes are out now, over 7 million downloads as we walk our way through Middle-earth with almost 6 years in the Third Age alone. Now, join me again tomorrow, please, on today's Tolkien Times as I welcome another special guest for Fandom Friday. Please like and subscribe on YouTube, follow or subscribe on your podcast apps, follow @Tolkien Times on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And as Faramir says, go with the goodwill of all good men.